As you know already, Mozart is one of my favorite composers. His music is so joyous and inspired, it seems especially significant at this troubling time in history. For our annual tribute to his musical genius, I've chosen some of his greatest music from the genres of opera, concerto, and symphony. We'll open with his effervescent and madcap overture to his opera, The Marriage of Figaro, followed by two of his delightful and humorous concertos for French horn, played by virtuoso hornist Martin Owen from Great Britain. After intermission, we have some music by one of the few female composers active during Mozart's time, Princess Anna Amalia of Prussia. To finish our concert on a truly inspiring note, we have Mozart's final symphony, The Jupiter. In the late 18th century, Pierre-Augustin Caron de Beaumarchais was a watchmaker, inventor, musician, politician, invalid, fugitive, spy, publisher, arms dealer, and revolutionary, both French and American. This remarkable polymath is now best remembered as the author of 3 plays, his so-called Figaro cycle. They very much reflect the turbulent life Beaumarchais lived, and they cover the breakdown of the old medieval world and the painful birth of a new democratic world. In 1782, Beaumarchais offered private readings to King Louis XIV of his new comedy of manners, Les Nozze di Figaro, or The Marriage of Figaro. It was already the second of his Figaro trilogy, and the author was understandably proud of it. But the king's reaction was anything but pleasant. He decreed that the play was detestable and must never be produced. The irreverence was simply too much, and soon afterwards the Austrian government banned it completely from its shores. Of course, these reactions brought it lots of attention in aristocratic circles, and before long there were numerous private productions of the taboo play. Finally, in 1784, it was presented publicly in Paris to great acclaim and was immediately translated into other languages for presentations across Europe. Mozart, already a celebrated composer in Vienna, was looking for a subject for a new opera buffa, a comic opera, and realized that The Marriage of Figaro was just the ticket. Together with his new librettist Lorenzo da Ponte, they completed the entire opera in only 6 weeks. The overture was finished just 2 nights before opening night and properly prepares the audience for what's to come. It opens with a whisper of gossip and develops quickly into a madcap ride of shifting moods and a generally unpredictable atmosphere. It is not only the perfect prelude for the hilarious opera to follow, but has delighted audiences on its own as a concert work since its premiere on May 1st, 1786. Mozart's 4 concertos for the French horn have an interesting history. They were all composed for an Austrian horn virtuoso and family friend, Johann Leutgeb, who played in the Archbishop of Salzburg's orchestra when Mozart was a child. In 1777, he retired from that post and, with a loan from Leopold Mozart, Wolfgang's father, moved to Vienna and opened a very successful cheese shop. When Wolfgang arrived himself in Vienna a few years later, the two would become best buddies. Their friendship was apparently very light-hearted, evidenced by the Mozart's jokes and jabs in the margins of the manuscripts of the concertos. As an example, the dedication of Concerto No. 2 translates as Mozart took pity on Leutgeb, ass, ox, and fool in Vienna on 27 May 1783. To add to the general buffoonery, Mozart used 4 different colors of ink in the score. But despite all the teasing and taunts, they remained close friends for life. In fact, it was Leutgeb who helped Mozart's wife Constanze to organize her husband's manuscripts after his untimely death. The 2 concertos we're playing in this concert are my 2 favorites. They represent Mozart at his most direct and felicitous, a joy to all who hear them. Of course, these works are very difficult for the soloist and require a true virtuoso to play them effectively. I'm so proud and happy to tell you that we have such a musician joining us. He is hornist Martin Owen, who will travel all the way from England to be with us. I had the great privilege of playing chamber music alongside him a few years ago, and I think it's safe to say that he may be the very best horn player I've ever heard. It is extremely difficult to find music written by women in the late 18th century. During that period, no woman could possibly have the kind of career that Mozart had, but were consigned to make music as amateurs. Despite this unfortunate censure, there were a few brilliant women who were able to write good music and have it performed. One such woman was Princess Anna Amalia von Braunschweig-Wolfenbüttel, who was a harpsichordist, pianist, harpist, flutist, singer, and composer. She grew up in the royal household of the town of Braunschweig, where she received a broad and liberal education, including drawing and instrumental lessons. In 1756, she turned 16 and was married to the Duke of Weimar, who shared her love of music and theater. They together took the first steps to promote culture in Weimar by establishing a court theater. But within 2 years, the young Duke died, leaving behind his wife and 2 small sons. Thus opened a new chapter for the Duchess Anna Amalia. She was still not of age, so she had to wait a year before being able to assume the guardianship of her children. This officially made her regent, while her firstborn son was a minor. She began to prove herself a very capable stateswoman and set about to consolidate her disheveled duchy. Despite the austerity measures that demanded, her palace remained an important location for music with weekly concerts, including her and her apparently talented family. When her eldest son became of age and she was released from her duties as regent, she immediately bought her own villa, which she made available for concerts, balls, and theater performances. Free now to pursue her diverse interests, she gathered around her a group of writers, artists, and scholars, and hosted what would later be called a salon. It was here that poetry, painting, composition, and performance were king. The members eventually included Goethe, Wieland, and Herder, and they called themselves the Round Table. With her dedication to the greatest thinkers of her time, Anna Amalia was able to establish Weimar a dominant cultural destination. In 1788, she took an educational trip to Italy, where she heard a constant array of concerts, operas, and impromptu private musical evenings. During the trip, this indefatigable woman started to study the guitar, which she brought back home with her. She began to play it in concerts and was almost single-handedly responsible for popularizing the guitar in all of Germany. During most of her life, she also composed music, including operas, symphonies, and chamber music. In our concert, we're playing her 4 military marches, surely written for a special occasion that has unfortunately been lost to history. Mozart's final 3 symphonies stand at the very pinnacle of all symphonic music. Incredibly, these rich and deeply felt works were composed in only 9 weeks in the summer of 1788. Such haste for such complex symphonies suggests that he was writing them for a special occasion. That occasion was very likely a subscription concert, which Mozart was planning to replenish his sagging bank account and to revive his flagging Viennese career. No longer a wunderkind, the Viennese public had grown tired of Mozart. The idea seems to us today ludicrous and impossible, but there's no evidence that such a concert ever took place, and there's in fact no record of performances of these symphonies in Mozart's lifetime. Like 3 children, the 3 works have very distinct personalities. Number 39 exhibits the warm and generous character of its main key of E-flat major, and number 40 in the key of G minor is dark, nervous, and brooding. But number 41 is an optimistic study of human nobility and strength in the glorious key of C major. It stands as his greatest symphonic achievement. The nickname Jupiter was not Mozart's own and seems to have been bestowed by Johann Peter Salomon, Franz Joseph Haydn's London-based promoter and impresario. The work is uncommonly bold and confident, but it contains such a large range of emotion as well as forward-thinking structural innovation that the connection with later composer Beethoven's First Symphony, also in C, is hard to ignore. While the first three movements are a complete musical experience in themselves, it is in the finale that Mozart shows us his total mastery and genius. Within the narrow context of a classical period symphony, he effortlessly introduces a double fugue in the manner of J.S. Bach. The name Jupiter is very fitting, as this monumental work seems to emulate the heroic and powerful qualities of the god for whom it is named.